Okay, we're live.
You want it on now?
No, we just got a question.
Bananas, good morning. Thank you everyone for calling in. We are joined today with Nits'ilʔin Chief Joe and Nits'ilʔin Francis Laceese, who will be discussing the Chilcotin River landslide and the current situation with the increased flow of water. After Chief Laceese and Chief Alphonse give their opening comments, we will go to the media room for questions and the media on the phone. So we'll start this morning with Nits'ilʔin Chief Francis Laceese.
Bananas, Chanakia, Nukuzun, Ganzin, Jan Ganita. Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Yeah, I guess we're the Chilcotin people, Tŝilhqot'in nation, or a community of six communities. The rivers, I guess, Chilcotin rivers are kind of our identity. Same with the salmon, that are there. That's basically who we are. That's our biggest food source. And and I guess the salmon, they take a while to get up to our area, and they're strong species that come up. So just similar to the Tschilhqot'in, we're strong. We've endured. Our history will show we've come through genocide as a people. So, yeah, just a bit on the slide there. That's happened before, and so we kind of expected what happened there. That's kind of what happened. Usually a week, 2 weeks for them to water to back up, and then depending on how big the blockage is, and it did its thing, and now it's probably going to be a couple of weeks before it clears up. And there's our salmon are coming up the river, up the Fraser, and just like before, kind of cleared up, that they'll pass through up to the spawning grounds. Yeah, so we have our Aboriginal rights and title as a nation recognized 10 years ago, 2014, and about 20% of our territory. So right where the salmon are born, that's right where our Aboriginal title areas. And yeah, that's our Aboriginal right to that fish, but we also have human right. So an analogy that I use is Aboriginal rights to go down and catch that fish, and we take it home to eat it, and that's our human right to that food. So that's very important. So yeah, I'll just we'll be meeting with different ministers, probably at both levels of government here, and today and in the coming days. So this is a serious issue that we'll be working on to trying to make it safer for the salmon that come up and for just our people in general. So the slide where this happened, that's just right in the closest to me, my community. And so it's an important area, always has been Chilcotin area there. So just a bit of work to get things back to normal. And so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief Francis, for your opening comments. Next, we'll go to Chief Joe Alphonse, who is Chief of Planning Co. and also the Tribal Chair for Chilcotin National Government.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, we've had a memorable few days here. High, intense, stressful days for our community members and stuff. But it's the river is finally released. Tŝilhqot'in, I mean, we are the river people. Nits'ilʔin, in our language, the Farwell Canyon areas, we call it, translation is the slide area. And then Chief Francis community, Tl'esqox, the muddy part of the river. If you don't know why, now head down to the river, you'll understand why. That's the names for our community. It's Tl'esqox's backyard. And however, as Tschilhqot'in people, all of the Tschilhqot'in lands, we consider to belong to all Tschilhqot'in people and stuff. So, you know, it's a relief that the slide area has now been released. You know, it allowed for really a long build-up. 2004, the slide or the dam burst day 4, so this lasted a little longer. We anticipated that. We weren't sure exactly how that was going to go about. The feeling was that it was going to go over top. In 2004, it seemed like the dam area got soaked through and then shot through. And it did that again this time. And, you know, water is a very, very strong element. You know, it's when that release starts happening, that's a lot of energy and a lot of power that went downriver. A lot of trees, a lot of debris. You know, some cabins, the property just downstream on Wineglass Ranch. You know, they lost some infrastructure. The old heritage cabins at Farwell Canyon, disappointing to see that go, but that's gone as well. And you know, that was iconic to that location. You know, I think just about everybody has taken a picture of themselves with the sand dunes in the background of that old cabin. It's now but a memory. And now our thoughts and attention go to our salmon, the Chilco Lake sockeye run. Chilco Lake run is, we're on the first cycle. Salmon runs come in four different cycles. And they run on a 4-year period. So this year would have been the first year from the Big Bar slide. So we were anticipating, you know, really focusing on and monitoring that sockeye run. Now they have another big hurdle. You know, maybe 15 to 20% got through 4 years ago to the spawning grounds. And this run right now is a result of that 15-20%. And now we don't know how much of that is actually going to get through. You know, there may be some, but it's going to be very, very challenging. We have to make sacrifices for that. Our people are dependent on sockeye fishery. We do strictly traditional fishery, dip net fishery. We don't believe in nets. We don't stretch not across the river or anything like that. Our dip net fishery is the most selective fishery in the world. And it's also very labor intensive. You go and dip and pull out a fish that you know you're not allowed to catch. In one swoop, that fish is released again. There's no other fishery that can claim that. And we need to have a long, hard look at how we conduct our fishery in this country. You know, when you have big seine that's out in the ocean, killing everything in sight, you know, there is no management, there is no control. So Canada and all these countries have to have a long, hard look at how they conduct their business. If we want wild stock salmon, that's why I say Department of Fisheries and Oceans is here, and I believe their mandate is to eradicate every last wild stock fish in the province of British Columbia. And until somebody can prove me otherwise, prove that isn't the case for DFO, that's what I truly believe. You know, there's not one run that this was the last healthy run left on the Fraser River. Now they're under full attack from every direction, and government officials aren't showing the leadership needed to ensure healthy stocks. And our healthy run, and we have just about everybody in the province that benefit from that. Whether or not you're a commercial fishery operator in Alaska to salmon lodges all throughout the coast, they depend and live off of our resources that we produce here in the interior. And times like this is when we need support. Our fishery, we don't fight for that fish for the benefit of the mighty dollar. We do it in order to have food on our table. And that's our focus. Our people today, you look at First Nation statistics right across the board, the highest rates of different, whether it's high blood pressure or any of that type of stuff. When you have your people on low income, it's not the most healthy food that you can buy in grocery stores. It's the cheapest food. So salmon ends up becoming some of our healthiest forms of food to balance things out. You know, so when we don't have salmon, then, you know, diabetes rates and all that stuff is going through the roof in First Nation. And yet we still keep getting under attack by government policy. I don't know where government looks when they see First Nation communities. Rich nations, because we sure don't feel it. We own those resources out there. And this area is owned by Tŝilhqot'in people, as far as we're concerned. Having interference by other levels of government is only hindering our well-being of ourselves, of our territory. You know, we will do a full-scale review of this process, and we will follow that. In 2017, the 2017 fires, we reported that this was a very real possibility. You know, the trees that eliminated the fires that eliminated all the trees right up and through all of our rivers, making the banks or river banks very unstable. And now it's what we've predicted has come true. We said this in 2017. Now we will be meeting with government officials, and they have a choice to make. They either work with us or they get out. You know, I watched the news, I watched government officials. All they did was strike fear into everyone. We don't need that. And if that's how they conduct business, maybe next time around we just tell them to stay out. Stay out, we'll handle it from here. we will be meeting, ask the nations to get together in a couple days, and we will be meeting in my specific community. We will do and conduct a water ceremony, and the effects of this dam releasing is it's still going to be felt. It's not just because it broke up here yesterday doesn't mean it's felt in Hope already. It's going to take time to get there, but regardless of the fear that government and officials put into everyone, I think the city of the city of Vancouver, I think it'll be safe. I don't think it's going to wipe out into the ocean. That's what they pretty much had everyone believe. We ask people to continue to practice common sense. Although common sense isn't as common as it used to be, we still ask for that here in Chilcotin. Stay away from the riverbanks, and the riverbanks can be very unstable. Don't go walking up to the riverbanks, and you might get washed away in the river. And you get washed away in the color of the water and stuff. There's no hope. There's no chance for anybody to survive anything like that. We're grateful for our team. It's anytime you go through something traumatic, it's very traumatic for people. Our thoughts and prayers for all the homeowners and people that live close to that river, our staff and everyone. It's always important to look after yourself in times like this, and to remember to stop, take a breather, meditate if you have to, or walk, whatever. It's very important. This is reality. It's unfortunate some properties lose infrastructure and all that, but at the end of the day, we'd rather lose infrastructure than lives, and that's what matters. So thanks for taking your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief Francis and Chief Joe, for your guys' opening comments. Now we'll go to questions. Maybe we'll go to the room first.
Ruth Lloyd, Williams Lake Tribune. Thank you for taking my question. I was just wondering, now we've had at least two major slides in living history. And do you have any kind of sense from traditional stories and salmon harvesting in the past, how long it will potentially take the salmon runs to recover from this?
Any salmon run, to rebuild, it's going to take a lot of cooperation from a lot of different sectors. We asked First Nations all along the Fraser River to lay off our salmon, and generally First Nation fishers will adhere to that. The sport fishery and the commercial fishery are different sector. They're a sector that like to point fingers. So it's very difficult, and that's when we need government to show leadership. Not be sitting there counting your votes. Do what you have to do to protect the resource. You want your children and grandchildren to enjoy this resource? Then step up and show leadership right now, today. Don't pass the buck. And we ask those sectors to be honest with themselves. Like, who in the world wants to brag that they've made $1 million, knowing damn well that might be one of the last salmon runs left? Like, how smart is that?
And as a follow-up, is there anything in particular that you'd like to see immediately?
Leadership. I've been calling for leadership from DFO and other government agencies and from different sectors, and they got to get honest. This resource, salmon, it moves from the interior to the ocean. Just because you have operation in the ocean doesn't mean you're not tied back to the interior. We're all interrelated in this resource specifically. And it's not just fish. You're talking about, our Chinook salmon fishery was interrupted. We don't know how much of our Chinook fishery has gone through. One of the government officials said, "Oh, the majority of the Chinook have already passed that slide area." I didn't know he was a fishery biologist. That's a politician BSing out of his ass as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't have a clue, but he wants to stand at the podium and pretend to look like he knows what he's talking about. We have no idea how much Chinook have gone through. Chinook salmon are you get killer whales out in the ocean that depend on that resource. That's their favorite food source. Where are they going to get that if you kill off all the interior habitat? Nothing. You're killing off killer whales.
And the other thing is the Fraser River is referred to as the garbage river. All the mining effluent from the Gibraltar mine, the Mont Poly discharge, all the pulp mills up and down, and then whatever else, that's what the salmon have to deal with. And there's been one of our stocks, they're almost extinct. There's also sturgeon in there. That's one of our salmon also, or one of our fish species. Those type of things. We have to be the voice for the clean water and the salmon stocks that keep coming back. And that's why I was saying earlier about the genocide that happened to us as a people, but it's happened to all our food source, our traditional food source. That's what we're fighting for. There's human rights violations that are happening. To us as a people, but more so to the environment and to the waters. In this case, the salmon and the other species that we consume for food, and that's very important. That's another one is the fish. They're out there for 4 years out in the international waters, and one of the areas they come back through is Alaska. That's the United States, and I think they've been catching the majority of our salmon. Just because they're in the United States, they're getting away with that. So there's other, like Chief Joe said, there's commercial, there's sports fishery, there's fish farms. This is a business. It's a business like no other, and it's a DFO. They run that business on behalf of Canada. So we're just the numbers will show you. Do the statistics of how much salmon ever since going back to the 1800s. How much salmon that they've sold to whoever. We're just a lot of industry and government. They oversee us as a people and our environment. They'll take that resource out, no matter if it's gonna damage the water or the salmon or the forest or whatever it is. So that's all those are human rights violations that are taking place, and it's an infringement on our Aboriginal right and title. So, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Next we'll go online. We have a question from Yvette Brand from CBC.
Hello, thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I have a re-ask question. I really appreciated Chief Joe Alphonse's frank words about food security earlier, but the microphone wasn't picking up great, so I wanted to re-ask that. Can you tell me, sir, for Canadians that don't understand the importance of country food and supplement, what does it really mean for families in some of your communities if they don't have access to salmon and are left just with grocery store food as those prices rise?
We turn into baloney Indians. We need wild stock. Our people don't eat farm fish. If you go to a restaurant, they find out that's farm fish, they'll just walk away from the plate. That's garbage food. We have always eaten wild salmon, wild moose, wild deer. Our homes, a lot of our homes in our, I have 140 homes in my community. And I would say every household one thing I can say for sure, there's not one of those households that makes more than 100,000 a year. Yet when I go to the city and I hear people talking, saying they're living below the poverty line, you ask them how much they make a year and they tell you 100,000. Our people and our families, a lot of them will make less than $10,000, $20,000 a year. They can do so because they depend on wild stock. So when there's no fishery, it's gonna be felt by my community first and foremost. So before contact, whenever the fish wouldn't come back, then our people converted to lake fishing. In the middle of winter, they would set nets under the ice. But nowadays, an Indian shows up on a lake and everybody's calling conservation officers. And maybe in this country, if you want to revamp our jail system, just force people, instead of jail, force them to live as an Indian on an Indian reserve. I think that's a bigger penalty than anything. The amount of prejudice that we face, the attack on our culture, our way of life, we're dependent on wild stock salmon, moose meat, deer meat. We don't eat beef and farm fish. And our people, like I said, they live well below the poverty line. And when you live well below the poverty line, you can't afford to buy food from a health store. You're standing in Walmart looking for the cheapest sale items you can buy, and often those are processed food that aren't good for us. You wonder why Native people's diabetes rate, heart rate, and all that is well above the national average. The lifespan of First Nation person well below the Canadian average. You don't have to look far.
The other thing is, when crises like these happen, there's our neighbors, other nations, and basically that's a big wide circle. We all help each other. If it's in this case it's salmon, so we have a lot of neighbors up and down the river, up north, wherever. So they'll be reaching out to help in any way to supply us with salmon. And that's back in the day. That was the trade. So in some cases we still do a bit of trading and trying to bring that back. So if we can help each other that way, and that's always been the case. So we've been we got allies right across Canada and even worldwide. We attend New York, and I was just in Geneva, Switzerland here with the human rights. So we have a lot of different nations that are willing to work together on a lot of these issues, and these are the human rights violations I was talking about earlier. So that's not just happening to us, but it's worldwide, and so that's what we're
May
doing.
I ask one follow-up? Sorry, excuse me.
Thank you.
Sorry. There were a lot of powerful images that we all watched yesterday as that water released and all of that debris began to flow. I put this to the group of you. What went through your heart as you watched that, knowing what it would mean?
It's powerful. It's a reminder how powerful Mother Nature is. You can manipulate Mother Nature. How many of these cases are we going to see before government and stuff starts conducting itself in a way that's going to be protective of our environment? As First Nation people, we believe we look after the environment will look after us. When you tackle on any issue, first thing government tells you is you can't be considerate of any other. You have to just look at it from one point of view. Name me one point of view that you're going to win any argument or anything in life. So why are we looking at resource extraction in just one point of view? You have to look at the whole in order to be, respectful and to be able to manage the whole region. This is a result of Indigenous voices being excluded. What came to mind? When are they going to learn? This is our land. We're the ones that know how to deal with this. I don't know how many experts the province ended up calling in. Water flow expert, dam expert, and on, and every last single one of them didn't have a clue what to do or say. They cover that up in this scenario, and they lay out 10 different scenarios or whatever, and that's, boy, a sneaky way of saying, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So swallow your pride and ask the Indians.
Yeah, the other thing is some of these, like when this happened with the river backing up, that's to us that river is a living entity. So it's saying that something is wrong. So there's always these reminders that'll be coming up different times, it might be the river, it might be somewhere else out on the land, different parts of the territory, just reminding us that things have to change. The way things are being impacted either with the land or the waters or the animals, the fish. So those are reminders that they're letting us know that, yeah, thank you.
Awesome. I think we'll move on to the next question.
Before you go, this area is actually sand, clay, and stuff, so it's all prone for slides. This specific area, there's underground water that was actually in play as well. We also had the 2017 fires. Those trees are all burnt up. Those are dead trees that are floating downriver. There were no live trees in that bunch. Live tree provides root system and stability to the ground. And so there were a lot of factors. It wasn't any one specific thing that caused this slide. And as I say, the most important thing again when you see something that devastating going on in your territory, how wrong everybody's been in their assessment of resource extraction and all that stuff. The need for us to be involved and the way in which they handle this crisis. Like, my community was evacuated due to forest fires in 2009. and in 2010. And in 2009, 2010, we watched them make one mistake after another. You know, CRD running the show and all that. It's like, we can do a better job than that. We got our people trained, we got our forest emergency management plan policies put together. In 2017, we became the first First Nation community in Canada to say no to evacuation order. We're prepared to do the same thing here. The way in which they handle and manage this crisis, we don't need them in our territory, as far as I'm concerned. Next go around, we'll tell them to stay out. At the end of every day, we'll give a report. I don't know why a CRD is even established. Take a map of the Chilcotin and say, you guys want to continue to do business, stay out of this area.
We'll go on to the next question. We've got a question from Isaac Van May from CBC.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I understand that several cabins and historic structures were lost in the flood, and I'm wondering how many?
Handful? Less than a handful? But if you ask those people, they'd probably tell you that's too many. You know, some of the, Wine Glass Ranch has been there for as long as there's been non-Indigenous people living in the Chilcotin. So that's a lot of history, a lot of memories. And it's probably going to be felt by that ranch. You know, and a lot of the private owners, when they lose property and stuff, there's really nobody to really advocate for them. So they feel it even worse than our situation. So, we will be stopping by and visiting and maybe, try to be a support to them as best we can as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Chief Joe. Next, we will go to Georgie from CBC.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I know that you are calling on the government to do whatever they can to help salmon stocks. Specifically, what does that mean? Does that mean to limit the opening of commercial fisheries on the coast, of recreational fisheries? What sort of actions are you sort of calling for today?
Both of those to start. That should be automatic. That should be an automatic decision, and yet we have to advocate for that. We have to lobby for that. It tells you if that's our system, then hell, no wonder why every last resource out there, fishery resource, is being depleted. Is that because the mandated government officials to eliminate every last wild stock fish out there? I don't see them doing anything to try to enhance and promote. What are we going to teach our kids, to be proud and bring them down to the fish farm to go fishing? Is that the world they envision us being in? Is that the world you want? So if they're scared to provide that leadership, hand it over. I'll provide that leadership. And I'll do it for free.
I also have a follow-up, if I can ask that.
Yes.
Of course, this event makes us all sort of think of the Big Bar landslide from a few years ago, and there was some significant intervention with salmon that were migrating through that area. Is that something that the nation is also looking at? Is there sort of anything, from the Big Bar landslide and the remediation afterwards that we're sort of looking to be inspired by, or is there sort of a different direction you think that we could take this?
This is a completely different situation altogether. You're comparing apples to oranges, and what worked and what they did in order to get fish past the slide area in Big Bar 4 years ago isn't going to work here. You want to capture that fish and transport them above the slide area where the water is pure again. You're going to put so much stress on the salmon. They're not going to be in any condition to spawn even if you get them past. So that would be completely opposite of what we would want. And we need to continue to monitor the river and stuff. We have a lot of old fishing sites, Farwell Canyon, that we need to look at. There's a lot of work that has to happen here. Getting commercial fishery and sport fishery, I'm not sure if you're an advocate for them or whatever, but I'll tell you right now, they need to step back. First and foremost, that should be automatic. The first thing they told us after 2017 fires by the so-called experts of the province was, forest fires don't affect moose. My area was burnt. 85% of my area was burnt up. There was not one tree in that 85% area. And they tell us forest fires don't affect moose. That's supposed to be some of the smartest people in the province. I sure had hoped that person's now retired. Because we don't find moose in our area anymore. And I'm sure they have a good excuse for that one too. We don't want to hear excuses for the Chilcotin Lake run. We want leadership and we want solutions.
Awesome, thank you for that question. Next, we'll go to Patrick White.
Hi, thanks very much for doing this. I just had some date and number questions. When would you normally be expecting that Chilcotin Lake sockeye run to be coming through your respective communities there?
Usually it varies due to water levels and temperature and all that, but we often target the actual sockeye run to begin around August 10th. And we see a lot of salmon that was pooling up before the slide broke right at the Fraser-Chilcotin junction. You see salmon in the Fraser River, when you see salmon there, it's Chilco run because they've already eliminated all the other runs on the Fraser. But for national interest, they want to develop one more mine. We could have been the richest First Nation in all of Canada. We sign on the dotted line with the Tl'esqox mine and we would be that. And everybody would be saying, those are progressive Indians. Meanwhile, we'd have no salmon left. We put in value into saying that we have one of the last pure rivers in North America. There's no pollution in our waters. And that's why the Chilcotin Lake run is able to stay strong. You raise salmon stocks in polluted waters, you're not going to get a very strong stock. You guys got to start looking at things in a whole different way, in a whole different manner. The indigenous voice hasn't been part of the planning and of resource extraction. And now we're wondering where all this global warming is coming from. far as we're concerned, the planet is screaming for Indigenous voices and values to be included. You know, how much forest do we have to lose every year due to fires? How much landslides and flooding do we need before we're going to change our approach? Time for action is now.
The other thing they underestimate the salmon. You know, look how long they've been around and how far they got to go. So they know what they're doing. They know, they sense there's more, the temperatures, what's in the water. So they'll wait. You know, there's something going on up ahead. You know, so they also underestimate their knowledge, I guess, or they're just a salmon being, you know, that's, yeah, they've been around for thousands of years, so they adapt. But yeah, it's getting tougher for them, just with everything that they got to deal with, you know, to be able to come back every 4 years. And you know, our salmon are just one of the strongest species. They're born in the highest elevations and the coldest water, and once they're born, they gotta swim up. They gotta go upriver. You know, they've done studies and they have bigger hearts, and yeah, they're pretty smart. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you for that, Chief Francis. I think we will wrap up and we'll go to closing comments. So maybe just to you quickly, Chief Joe, for a closing comment, and then we will end this.
Yeah, I think we're relieved that the dam is finally broke, and you know, we hope and pray that it's not going to cause too much damage to properties and people downstream from us, and for the property owners, you know, the ilhqox ranch right on the river where it's happened. You know, we think about them and all the stress that's put on them, their family, and their operation down there. Is you know, to put up with all the onlookers and people showing up in every type of condition you can imagine, and stuff. It's you know, so our thoughts and prayers to all of them, and we thank all you guys for participating and making sure, you know, the word is out there. You know, and information is something that people will always say we can never get enough of. So thank you guys for taking the time and writing and keeping people up to date.
Yeah, we thank you from the nation for coming today and asking your questions, and we appreciate getting this information out. We hope you have a good day.